Hi, welcome to the video. I'm Dame and this is Dame Over, and today in Overwatch 2 we're having a look at how to play as Zarya, one of the most prominent tanks currently in quick play and in the competitive scene. So I'm going to take you through all of her abilities, all of her stats, and how to make the most out of her with a couple of special tips that I've found have helped me personally. Now if you like this video, don't be afraid to hit the like button, and if you want to see more content to do with Overwatch 2, make sure you hit the sub button as well. I also stream 5 to 6 times a week, so it'll be lovely to see you guys on the live. Best way to do that is to join the Discord server and to hit the bell button so your notifications are turned on. Everything else you need to know is down in the description. Right, let's jump straight in with Zarya and how much health she has, because after all, she is a tank. She needs to be pretty tanky. Now, she's not the one with the most health. She is sort of in the off-tank category, and her base health is split up between her regular health and her shield health. So she has a total of 475. 225 of that is her shields. If the shields don't get completely depleted after a short time outside of combat, it will recharge on its own. If you do get down to your base health taking actual damage, then you'll need a healer or to pick up a health pack from the map to get yourself up to full health again. And now let's have a look at her primary weapon and her primary attack, which is a laser beam from her particle cannon. Now, this doesn't do too much damage to begin with, but combining it with her abilities, which we'll get onto in a second, it can absolutely destroy the enemy team. Now, her primary fire at the very lowest damage possible, which is with 0 charge from using her shields, is 75 per second. That's with no energy, and the maximum energy output does 170 damage per second. There is also a secondary fire mode, which fires a grenade, which has splash damage and can bump enemies around the map a little bit, throwing off their aim, and if you're very, very lucky and you aim very well, bumping them off the map. Now, this at its very lowest can do 50 damage per grenade, and at max energy does 100, with a total of 100 ammo per reload of your particle cannon. Now, it's very important to know that the secondary fire costs 25 ammo per shot, whereas the primary fire, it rapidly drains the ammo, but it does it in consecutively depleting numbers from 100 all the way down to 0. Now, where Zarya becomes very, very powerful is through the use of her particle barriers. You have a maximum of 2 charges stored with a cooldown per shield of 10 seconds. Now, each of these shields lasts for 2.5 seconds, or after absorbing 200 damage. And as soon as you cast the shield, the countdown to restore the charge starts immediately. A very important thing to note about the particle barrier and the projected barrier is that they share a cooldown with each other. So if I was to cast the particle barrier first and wait until the cooldown gets to 5 seconds and then cast the projected barrier, that means I need to wait for only 5 more seconds until I can use the projected barrier again, or vice versa. So depending on which one of the abilities you use first, it will share the cooldown with the one that you use second. It's very confusing, but makes much more sense if you have a look at the bottom right hand side of the screen as I'm playing, as you can see how the numbers tick over. Now, you can choose either to cast your particle barrier on yourself or onto an ally. The important part being that if yourself or the ally that you've shielded take damage, it charges up the power on the particle cannon, making your attacks more deadly. So this 200 damage converts itself into 40 energy if the shield is completely destroyed. So if you cast both the particle barrier and the projected barrier at the same time and they're both destroyed, you get yourself up to 80 energy. Now, staying at high energy with Zarya is the key to success. The particle cannon at high energy does an incredible amount of damage, and you will most often than not at 80 plus be able to win a fight against almost anything in very quick order. Any of the DPS and support characters you will absolutely be able to melt. The only ones that will take a little bit extra time are the tanks, because obviously they have a bit more health. Now, good players with Zarya will do their best to stay at high energy at all times. You sort of want to average above 50 if possible, but there will be some times where it cools down and you'll have to start from scratch. So timing the use of your particle barrier and projected barrier is very, very important. Now, it might seem very, very tempting just to protect yourself, and more often than not, that actually is the right thing to do, as you can control how much you're going to get hit by the enemy fire. One of the things that I like to do is to pop in and out of cover when I've got the particle barrier on myself and try and aggro the enemy team into taking pot shots at me. All the while, it's charging up my attacks for when I do finally push, and hopefully my team follows. The projected barrier can also be incredibly clutch for your teammates, especially when it comes to something like D.Va's ultimate. When the nuke from her mech explodes, if you're able to cast a projected barrier use the particle barrier on yourself, you'll be able to survive her ultimate. The same thing goes for the ultimates of Cassidy and for Junkrat, just to name a couple more. And I always think it's a good idea to keep an eye on where your healers are, so if they do need a little extra help getting out of trouble, you can give them an extra 200 damage to absorb before they start to die. So making sure you bide your time with Zarya and getting up to that high energy for her particle cannon is absolutely key. But once you are at 100%, you'll find yourself melting enemies very, very quickly. Ideally, you take out the tanks first so the enemy team isn't protected, or you target the healers first as well for similar reasons. And if you have a couple of good healers on your team that are focusing on keeping you alive, it should be very, very easy to push through and take out the rest of the competition. The best way I found to keep that energy nice and high, like I said, is peeking in and out of cover, but using the choke points to your advantage. If you park yourself right in the way of where the enemy team need to go, they will try to shoot you, regardless of whether they know it's a good idea or not. It seems that relatively new players to Overwatch 2 don't quite understand how powerful Zarya is if you keep shooting her shields, so use that to your advantage before people start to clock on. The best way to fight against Zarya is to not shoot her shields. Keep her at the lowest energy possible for as long as you can, and then she is essentially redundant. At 0% energy, she can be taken out very easily by any of the DPS characters. So let's have a look at her ultimate. Now, combining this again with the high energy for a particle cannon is very, very important to be able to use it to its maximum effectiveness. Now, the Graviton Surge, as you can see here, fires a concentrated ball of gravity, a gravity well, that draws in enemies towards it if they're caught within its radius. This means that they're stuck still for up to 5 seconds, and it also does its own damage of 5 damage per second. Not very much at all, but if you combine that with yourself shooting the enemy team or possibly combining it with one of the other ultimates from your allies, you can absolutely rinse people, and if you time it right, you'll easily get a team kill. Combining it with Hanzo, Soldier 76, D.Va, Junkrat, the list goes on, but basically anything that has a large area of effectiveness and high damage, you'll find yourself wiping out the enemy team very easily. Now, there is one more thing to do with Zarya's mobility that is very important to talk about, and that is using her secondary fire to bump her up on top of things. Now, I'm not particularly good at this. As you can see in the video here, I'm just using it to demonstrate how far you can get bounced or how quickly you can move forward. You will take a little bit of damage yourself if you are firing the grenades at the ground right in front of you, but the distance you get bumped has been increased now in Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1, so you can get yourself up on ledges that you could never reach before in the previous Overwatch title. And as we all know, getting any advantage over the enemy team is always a big deal in a hero shooter, and especially in Overwatch. Being where someone will not expect you to be will give you that extra couple of seconds advantage for you to take them out before they can start firing on you. Another one of my top tips for using the particle cannon against some of the enemy heroes is the shields from Reinhardt and for Brigitte do block the damage, like any other type of damage that they might receive, apart from the ones that go through shields, whereas D.Va's defense matrix and Genji's deflect are unable to stop the damage from the particle cannon. If I was to use the secondary fire and fire the grenades, they would be deflected or absorbed by the defense matrix, but the primary fire mode from Zarya's particle cannon will go straight through D.Va's defense matrix and will go all the way through Genji's deflection. All right, and now to wrap things up, I wouldn't be surprised if Zarya gets a little bit of a nerf in the future. She seems to be very, very powerful at the moment and is very often one of the top picks on each team. Whether Zarya is actually top tier or not, because countering her is relatively easy, I mean, just don't shoot, we still need to find out. For those of you guys that like the idea of using a tank, Zarya is definitely going to be my top choice. So if you do, make sure you let me know how it went in the comments. Tell me which character you main. And like I said earlier in the video, if you liked it, then please do hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date with everything. 5 or 6 per week at 2 p.m. BST. That is 2 p.m. UK time. And if you have another hero from Overwatch 2 you want to see a video on, make sure you let me know what that is in the comments as well. All right, I'll catch you next time. That's game over.